I'm Sherilyn Muckleroy, and this is Romantic Romps. Welcome, everyone, to another audible podcast of Romantic Romps, where guests share their stories of love and how it changed their lives. Oh, Riley, I am so glad to have you back in the studio with me today. I trust your head cold is a thing of the past.
Yes, sirree, Sherilyn. I can breathe again. The faucet known as my nose has stopped running. The construction crew with jackhammers has moved out of my head. And Lucifer with his pitchfork gave up poking my throat and went back to hell.
Woo! You certainly had quite an array of symptoms there, Riley.
I did, but my doctor prescribed the right medicines to keep me from contracting pneumonia, which I am prone to do. I do not want to go to the hospital. I told you why already now, didn't I? You know, vampires work there who want blood, and they were not going to get mine.
Yes, I remember your adversity to hospitals. I'm relieved your illness allowed you to recover in your apartment.
We have excellent staff at Golden Spires, and they watched over me like mother hens. Even the men. Now then, did your listeners miss me last week?
Oh, yes, indeed they did. Many of them sent along their good well wishes for your speedy recovery.
Oh, that's very nice to hear. Thank you, Romantic Romps listeners, for your concern over an old lady. Okay, now, let's move on to the interview. My daughter Kat is coming over in an hour for her weekly visit, and I have to be back in my apartment to get wine ready for her. She likes a good Chardonnay that's cold, and I have a doozy of one hidden in my fridge. So, what's your question today, Sherilyn?
Your telling us about your daughter coming for a visit gave me an idea.
Uh-oh, I can see those little squirrels running around in your brain, Sherilyn. What is your idea?
Do you think Kat would be one of my Romantic Romps guests?
Are you trying to replace me?
Oh, no, Riley. Not a chance. I just thought we could get to know your daughter a little better. She was so young in your memoir, and perhaps she'd like to give us a bit of her history with you that you don't cover in your story.
I could ask her when I see her today. I suppose you want me to ask Peter if he wants to be a guest too.
Oh, Riley, would you? That would be wonderful.
It would give me a break from coming to your studio all the time. You should get out of here and visit me in my apartment once in a while. You did before, you remember? We also had a phone interview. We could do that again too, but anyway, back to my question for the day.
Okay. In preparation for next week's chapter reading,
The one with sex in it, right?
precisely, I thought you might give my listeners a bit of background about how sex was thought of in the 1940s. That's when you were in your teen years, right?
I was 10 years old in 1940, and let me tell you, sex was not a topic a girl openly talked about with her mother. In fact, those living in the 1940s and 1950s were known as the silent generation. But I can tell you, I discovered later that there was a lot more hinky-pinky going on behind the scenes than people thought.
Oh, was that because of Elvis Presley and his hip gyrations and Hugh Hefner's Playboy magazine?
Oh, good God, no! That had nothing to do with it. After the Depression and World War II, young people tired of being traditionally proper, and they put on their crazy party hats and went wild, enjoying what life had to offer. World War II liberated the real sexual revolution. Dr. Benjamin Spock, he's the man who wrote the famous book about babies. Yeah, well, he advised parents not to come unglued when discovering their children masturbated. Oh, that word. Oh, back then that was a horrible word. You didn't use it. The time between when World War II began and Playboy appeared, the number of mothers having babies out of wedlock doubled. See, the silent generation may not have said much about sex, but they made up for it with their actions. As a result, the social and cultural changes of the 40s and 50s carried over into the 60s.
Oh my goodness, that's quite a history lesson, Riley. How do you know all that?
Well, I didn't know it when I was living it as a childling, but in my later years, history has a way of sneaking into one's life now and then.
Yes, I suppose it does.
So, did my answer satisfy your curiosity?
It did. Thank you for helping us get a look at that time period.
You are most welcome. Now that we've talked about sex, are you ready to read about one of my sexual encounters in chapter 7?
Yes, I've already warned my listeners that Chapter 7 includes adult content.
Adult content, hell! It has good old-fashioned sex in it. Now, get talking, Sherilyn.
Oh, all right, Riley. Okay, listeners, next week is the X rated chapter. Well, it's not too over the top X rated, though. It's sexual, but in a light sense, and humorous, too. I think you'll enjoy it. I'd like to thank Riley and my listeners for joining me today, and I hope you all return for the next episode of Romantic Romps with our featured guest, Riley O'Keefe. Until next time, ta for now.